Hello, my name is Collin Schmelebeck and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be talking about how I use a dual strategy approach for YouTube ads for my e-commerce clients. And right now I spend about 1.5 million a month on Google and YouTube ads combined, but across 15 clients. Most of them are in e-commerce, so that's where this channel is focused on. In this video, I want to discuss how exactly I'm scaling and show you a real life example of the last basically 5 days since we launched a new strategy for a client, what that's happening and how we're scaling to hopefully 10K a day in spend within the next 2 months or so, while maintaining at least a 1.5, 1.8 ROAS, depending on what offer we're pushing at the time. So let's get into it. And just so you can see I'm not lying here, let's go right here. Let's go down here. This is Hyros for this time period. So looking at April 6th through May 5th, so the first 30 days in this new account. Overall goal here is to get basically Google back up to Meta in terms of spend per day. And in this 30 days, we spent 70K and we got back just about 140K in total revenue at a 194% ROAS. In this view, we actually only had 8% of revenue was branded. So of this 137K in revenue, only about 10,960, I think it was. So basically 11K of the 137 was branded. And then yes, there was a little bit of PMAX for remarketing, but over 95% of our budget was utilized on top of funnel YouTube campaigns, and that's what we're talking about today. So overall, first 30 days in this account, great. We are about 3.5K a day in spend right now across our campaigns, and again, most of that is allocated toward top of funnel. We have dropped back down that spend to about 80% of total spend is on top of funnel, just because the amount of new net customer impressions we're getting and new users that we're getting through YouTube ads with the way we set it up. We need to start remarketing, and we've identified through Hyros that we have about a 12 to 20 day sales lag on average, actually, even though our AOV is around $100 or so, lower, but there is a lot of skepticism and trust that needs to be earned in this market. So we know email drives a large portion of the new traffic that we send over. So to help migrate that, we've opened up to about 15% of our spend is on middle of the funnel nurturing, which for us is two PMAX campaigns and new demand gen Gmail only test that we're running. And then about 5% of our spend is on brand, and just controlling that overall. So let's get into the actual, what I want to discuss today, now that you know I'm not lying. So overall, if you see here, I'm gonna go through this new kind of layered e-com YouTube ad strategy I want to discuss. But first, let's go back here and kind of show you when we actually really switched to this. So the first about 25 days that you saw was more of a horizontal isolated approach at scaling, which it worked very well in the past, but I wanted and got the itch to test other stuff in terms of more of a blended approach and not so much hammering my media buying and over optimizing ads, right? So the last 5 days, since basically May 1st, it's May 6th today, we've completely redone the account because we couldn't really get past 2K a day with the isolated test. It was just too much optimizing off of ad level campaign metric, ad level ROAS targets, which does not, it can work, but usually you're kind of messing up the YouTube system of creating different ad sequencing from the ads that you give it across the campaign. So if it works, awesome, good for you. However, I think this is the new strategy I'm gonna be migrating all clients to. Just because I've seen a couple accounts now very successful doing this, and it's just a lot easier in terms of easier management. You don't need as many creatives, and it's just overall a better time so far. So you can see here, looking at my campaign groups for this month, for the first 5 days of the strategy, you can see we scaled credit quite aggressively. Went from basically 5K, basically $1,000 a day, essentially, almost up to 3K a day in spend. And the last day, the last full day of May 5th, we were at $3,500 a day because we scaled again. So a very, very aggressive scaling where we basically tripled the spend, right, in a 5-day period. And very, very happy since, we do use Hyros to judge decisions. Overall, I don't really care too much about what's in here. I would if we start using some TCPA on some of these campaigns or TROAS, but for top of funnel campaigns right now, they're completely open, maximize conversion and maximize conversion value. We're testing those. So even though it says, hey, we're only at 111% ROAS by the time, one, we know that's not true because of Hyros, and we can see that, and we know our lag, our actual front-end ROAS target is about a 1.4. We can scale knowing with that sales, like an email marketing that will help nurture all the traffic we're paying for, that we're actually to get about a 1.7 to 1.8 depending on that first front-end CAC target. So overall, a very aggressive scale, and we're very happy with this. So seeing this now, right, and kind of understanding this, you can kind of see the budget allocation too, where we have two different top of funnel offers right here. That's really split out. And I'll show you probably in future videos exactly how I structure my top of funnel. But for now, I want to get into the actual YouTube ad strategy. So this is kind of the working order I have right now. It's 2 layers. There potentially will be a 3rd layer in the future for specific ad sequencing campaigns where we're not going after conversions. It's not a smart bidding system for conversions. It's where we used to use ad sequencing campaigns actually quite a lot up until about probably a month ago when demand gen fully took over video action campaigns. Side note, video action campaigns, I've seen degraded performance ever since they made the official switch to demand gen. So just a heads up, if your results are tanking, try creating a new demand gen and try to replicate as much as possible what you were doing in that. Just a pro tip. Now, for this, eventually we'll have a 3rd layer, but with level 1, level 2, it's a very simple process of basically you're testing creatives at level 1, and once they reach a certain KPI that you really care about, they go to level 2 for scaling. And these are evergreen campaigns. You do not turn these off unless, just for example, they just tank and spend. For, let's say you scaled like 2K a day in one campaign, and no matter what you do, replacing creatives, trying to out media buy it in terms of device level targeting, hour, location, hour, stuff like that, right? And updating creatives. If it can't work it and you can't save it with the T-ROAS or TCPA, then sure, kill it, or just pull it back and try to be really efficient with it. But it's a very simple strategy. It's not as nearly as complex as trying to go in the ad account every other day or every 3 days, or look at your 3, 7, 14-day trailing view and saying, oh, I have 10 ads in this YouTube campaign. 2 look really good, but other 4 of other ones look really bad. Pause those. It's not that complex. So level 1 is basically low to medium budgets. This really depends on how many creatives you have and what your overall budget is. I wouldn't recommend having a $200 a day creative testing campaign and only $100 a day scaling campaign. Maybe in the beginning, when you're just trying to get some creatives out there. But overall, I like 50 to 100 bucks a day. Usually 5 creatives per batch because and again, account for disapprovals. If you're very direct response heavy on Facebook and you're just utilizing those assets here, you will get probably clickbait and other stuff like that. So heads up, you might need to submit like 7 or 8 to get 5, but you'll notice that over time. And then timeline here, I really like a 7-day view. Again, this really depends on how many creatives and what you're spending, right? If you're spending 50 bucks a day, you may need to wait up to 14 days for data significance. But overall, your goal is, on a weekly basis, allowing Google to test, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever your creative capacity is. Find new winners that they want, and then if they meet your benchmarks and their Google has selected them as a winner, you can then inject them into layer 2 campaigns or level 2 campaigns. Now again, the primary KPIs here, this is really, it's a field base because these are all front-end benchmarks that I've kind of observed over the last year and a half since I've been really getting hard into YouTube for my clients. And the main ones I like to look at are percentage served, right? You don't want to judge data. You don't want to judge a thing off if there's only been like 2% of spend compared to everything else. The cost, has it reached data significance, right? Has it had hundreds of views, ideally a couple hundred clicks, right? Kind of making sure it's proven out. And then the main 3 front-end metrics I love to look at in terms of looking at what is getting good engagement on the front-end side, because better engagement means the better quality score for this ad, which means better cost per views, better CPMs, and better CPCs, right? Which make your efficiency targets better to reach. So knowing this, I love to shoot for at least a 1% benchmark click-through rate. The closer to 2%, the better. At least 20% view rate, closer to 30%, the better, but usually 25 is like the sweet spot. And then watch percentage throughout the duration of the video, and that is very subjective to what the story arc of the ad is, if it's a EGC stuff or AI stuff versus like in-feed VSL versus teaser VSL. Like there's so much stuff that different stuff that would affect the watch duration and how long it is, and just the awareness cycle of the audience. So I can't really give you a benchmark there, but it depends. And then L1 to L2, right? You want to inject these winning ads into an L2 scaling campaign. And again, let's say you have 2 creative testing campaigns at $100 a day. A week goes by, you have 2 proven, one in each campaign, 2 proven creatives, and they both, they have enough costs associated. They have like a 1.5% click-through rate, 28% view rates, and they've been watched like say 40% of the way through, right? Those to me would be good enough to inject into our, let's say we have one scaling campaign right now. And ideally, we have a couple ads in here, and let's say, we have 3 ads, 2 are getting spend, but 1's not getting any spend, and it's not assisting in any way. So I would inject these 2 into this campaign right here, and then from here I would pause that one ad that's not getting anything in here and keep it in a future scaling campaign test, or put it back into creative testing and see if we can get better stuff overall. And then a big pro of this is that they're evergreen campaigns. So yes, you can be, the level of, or the number of level 1s you need is fully subjective to your spend and your creative testing, cadence essentially. If you're getting 50 new creatives a week, well, you probably do 10 overall creative testing campaigns and trying to find 5 to 10 winners to input into scaling campaigns. And then you might need a few scaling campaigns, and I would recommend try to have a few, 2 to 4 at a time, just because ideally you can get all 4, for example, up to 5K a day maybe in spend. But then if one gets hit by a policy strike, or all the ads stop working, well, then you have 3 other campaigns that are still scaling, right? And that's where you want to have a good safety net there. But how I like to differentiate my scaling campaigns is, one, offer, making sure they're, let's say you have a percentage off offer and then a BOGO offer. Like those are 2 campaigns right there, because the offer is different for the creative and the lander. Number 2 would be the ad format or the placement. They're kind of synonymous, but ad format for me, and that would be a 16:9 versus 9:16, maybe even a 1:1 if you want to test that, or a 4:5. But usually 16:9 versus 9:16, those are the 2 main differences. And then from there, that's usually enough of segmentation. And then you can just have multiple. Let's say if you have a lot of winners from Facebook and they're proving well in level 1s, then you can actually have, let's say you can have 3 or 4 of each one. And then now you can have multiple scaling campaigns, right? And just kind of making sure your risk goes down if you get a policy strike. So that's that. And then level 2 kind of campaigns right here. This is a big mindset shift that not everyone can go after, because they're ROAS blindsided. But this would be ideally, I'm working toward all my clients going toward this, where I'm not looking for a direct goal in terms of a ROAS target on top of funnel that needs to meet expectations of what you normally get from Google. Let's say you normally get a 2x return, and that's what you need. Well, maybe top of funnel only needs like a 1x or a 0.5x, because you're starting new customer journeys, right? The same thought process you have in terms of starting new customer journeys on Meta, where you have a lower target, where almost every brand I've seen and work with, you have a 0.5 to a 1x return goal on Facebook, and then you have a 5x goal on Google. Well, that's because you have different funnel. You're targeting different parts of the funnel, and they need to be racked very differently. So that mindset is often limiting a lot of my clients, and a lot of, especially a lot of consulting clients, where they think, my top of funnel still needs to be a 5x. Why? Your top of funnel Meta is not a 5x. It's a 1 or 0.5. You're scaling hard because you have Google to support that. So yes, of course, if you now add another top of funnel new customer channel like YouTube, and you're scaling at a 1x, well, then you also need to keep in mind you've added another spender, and your channel benchmarks need to adjust, where instead of being a 0.5 on Facebook, maybe you need to be a 0.8, because now you have more spend top of funnel on YouTube, right? So keep that in mind. But overall, I'm getting really close to only going after blended targets for all clients, just because we need to look at Google as a full channel, not just in a full funnel, not just a very very product aware, middle funnel and bottom funnel. That's not, don't pay me to do that. You can do that yourself. Just throw up a PMAX campaign and a brand search campaign and set it to ROAS as 1,000%, and you'll get what you get from leftovers of Meta, right? But you're not adding any incremental revenue or new customers from that. You pay me or pay someone else on YouTube and Google to drive you more new customers that you would not have gotten, and creating a new separate 7- and 8-figure channel on Google that does not overlap as much as it does currently with Meta right now, right? So that's pretty much it. But yeah, the main goal in level 2 campaigns are scaling them to the overall blended target, right? And that target and benchmark per funnel location is completely dependent to you and your brand. It could be a 1x, it could be a 3x, it could be a 0.1, right? It could be insanely low, and you can just scale and beat everyone else because you can pay more. And then in terms of injecting creatives, this one, is, again, a little bit more subjective, but the main thing I look at here is, one, what is the percentage served by Google? Is it in a specific ad sequence that Google has placed it in? As well as the assisted conversions report to kind of see how is Google using this, right? Just because, let's say it's being used a lot and it has, let's say, great view rate but very low click-through rate and bad ad level ROAS, let's say, since that's a KPI you should at least look at, but you don't need to judge data off of. But let's say it's like a 0.5x return and it's getting great view rate. But then you look at the creator report and kind of see their assisted conversion report and say, oh, this is a first touch point ad that actually, educates them more, and then they click off of another campaign that has a higher ROAS, right? So you also make sure you look at that and understand how ad is being used by Google in this instance. And then launching new scaling campaigns. This one, I usually try to launch another one if I'm around 4 to 5 ads, because at that point, 3 at most probably can get spend. Top 2 can have 9% of your spend, right? So again, if you keep getting really, really good winning creatives from your creative testing level 1 campaigns, of course, launch a new scaling campaign, try to scale it up. The goal isn't to be only 2 campaigns that count. No, the goal is to consolidate as much as possible so you can push more spend together, but definitely not, you're not limited by the number you could do. So that is it. That's my 2-layered Ecom YouTube ad strategy that's been working very well for clients. Now, glad to be back here on YouTube. It's been a couple months. I'll be back again very soon. If you have any questions on e-commerce ads in general, mainly Google and YouTube's focused, and YouTube is something I'm investing a lot of both my own time and money, as well as where my clients want to grow. So that's where I'm going with as well. I'll be launching more stuff here on the channel. If you have any questions or want to have a new channel in terms of if you're meta driven and you want to see can Google and YouTube be my next 7-8 figure channel, I have a link below. You can schedule a call with me. I have both completely done for you options that includes media buying, ad landers, as well as creatives, as well as a consulting option if you want to do things in-house and rather just have me tell you what to do, and the accountability to actually do it. So that is it. Have a great day. See you soon.